Hello, welcome to the 14th episode of Dulcius Ex Asperus, where I bring you cozy news and crafty politics. Today we're going to organize one of my favorite games while I listen to that new Taylor Swift album. Well, you're not going to hear it because I don't want the copyright hit, but if you have your own cozy music, cue it up. I know it's time to record the next episode when the list of topics fills up. Surprisingly, a lot of them were good news. Our craft project for today? I need to put a bunch of these cards into that blue box, and the cards don't fit sideways, so the dividers need to be taller. I should probably tell you what this game is all about. You play a ranger in the forest, like maybe a keeper of the grove. You work together with other rangers to explore the valley, protect its people, and manage encounters with the local creatures. I say manage encounters because you generally don't have to kill things. There's a whole world they've built inside the game, and it's a lovely place. The names of the places have meanings that you learn as you explore. Speaking of naming places, there was some new news on Trump's attempts to restore Confederate names to army bases. I did a quick search to see where this bill ended up, and I couldn't figure out exactly what the status was, but it's good to see some Republicans showing a little resistance. Here's an example of an ability you can get in the game. Everything is about working with the world around you. In other good news, Lisa Cook can stay. For now. Low interest rates can make a weak economy look good in the short term, at the expense of long-term stability, which is why Trump wants to exert more influence over the Federal Reserve. Flash and mirrors are a common theme for him. Looking successful is important to him. It doesn't matter if he actually solves the problem. Here's another legal case Trump is losing. An appeals court has upheld Jean Carroll's defamation claim against Trump. Of course, a lot could happen on appeal, but these days, I'll take any win. Trump's spurious defamation lawsuit against the New York Times was dismissed. The New York Times had a series of articles investigating Trump's business practices and laying out how he wasn't as successful as he said he was. This ridiculous suit says a lot about his priorities. With everything else going on, he's decided to spend his time whining that someone said he isn't as rich as he says he is. I have a bunch of these dividers to make, so why don't I make a few and I'll meet up with you in a bit. I think the philosophy of this game is what I love the most. Earthborn Rangers helps you imagine a world where we build technology that works with nature. As in, we can have nice things, and we can have a healthy environment. So many cards. I was trying to organize everything into the boxes that came with the game, but I ended up buying this blue storage box. Where to put things is always a hard decision. You want things organized nicely, so you're not slowed down too much while you're playing. I think all of the Ranger deck building cards will fit in the blue box, so maybe we'll put all the cards needed during play sessions in the cardboard box, like the location decks. I wasn't sure if I should put this story in the good news or bad news category. The good news? People who don't follow the news every day are starting to see that this administration's actions and arguments don't hold weight. The bad news? Anything that makes Trump look bad makes him lash out. That's like 4 or 5 good news stories. Well, 4.5. I think we're ready for the not-so-good news. Trump is low-key planning a coup, again. Hegseth ordered high-ranking military leaders to an in-person meeting where Trump delivered a meandering speech full of his usual grievances and then slipped in this line. He wants to use deployment of the military to U.S. cities as a training ground. I've always said that Trump's use of National Guard troops was never really about crime. It's all about control. He sent ICE into Chicago this week and echoed the same words he used in that speech, saying the city should become a military training ground. And while this is all disturbing, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic because Trump's facade is wearing thin. He's losing popular support, even for those theatrical National Guard deployments. And look at the faces of these generals. They don't seem that enthusiastic about going to war against their country. If anything is going to save us, It will be the consciousnesses of the individual people deciding they're not going to do the wrong thing just because someone in power told them to. I may have bought all the expansions for this game. No wonder I'm having trouble figuring out storage. I keep finding examples of how social media is warping our conversations in disturbing and consequential ways. Like how birth control is being discussed on TikTok. Young women are being bombarded with bad advice from people who are not medical experts, and this is factoring into their medical decisions. I realize the irony in saying this on social media, but social media is a bad place to have a discussion that requires nuance. The decision to take any medication long term should be made based on your individual needs and good medical advice, not hot takes from the internet, where, as this influencer says, you can't have a lukewarm take. People exaggerate because the algorithm rewards it. I think I need to pair the pivotal location cards with the cards they add to the path deck. That way, I don't have to search for them. We need those nuanced discussions right now about, well, everything. Do you have a person in your family who's really divisive? A person who's toxic to some people and just the best person to others? And when you try to have discussions about Uncle George, it's always contentious. Like maybe Uncle George was great to his kids, but he called his nephew terrible names and made family occasions a living hell for him. Imagine a funeral for a person like that. Imagine how hard it is for the nephew to hear praise about Uncle George. And flip that around. Imagine how hard it is for the kids to hear what Uncle George did. How hard it can be to accept the person that was only good to them was horrible to someone else. We have so many of these figures in American history. George Washington was so popular in his day, he could have crowned himself king when the United States was founded. His insistence on giving up power to preserve representative democracy is notable. I'm grateful for it. He and his wife also enslaved hundreds of people at Mount Vernon. In his later years, Washington's feelings about slavery shifted. He freed his slaves in his will. So what should the hot take on George Washington be? Was he a bad man? A good man? I have lost the main Spire location card. I'm just going to trust that it will show up. Can you manifest a missing game piece? I think the philosophical question of whether someone is a good person or a bad person distracts from a more important, practical question. What are we supposed to do with someone's legacy and our collective memory of them? Can we honor George Washington's dream of a country that outlived him as a leader and at the same time acknowledge the cruel practice of slavery that he participated in? I think so. I think with practice, we can hold these conflicting truths to be self-evident. Sorry, I couldn't resist the reference. I think we owe ourselves the opportunity to face these issues with grace and civility. It's possible, if we want to. How does that quote go about being personally responsible for becoming more ethical? Here's a story where the descendant of a plantation owner worked jointly with the descendants of the people his family enslaved to excavate and better understand the past. Oh good, looks like we have enough of these dividers to relabel, so I don't have to cut out entirely new ones. Time for the label maker. Seriously, y'all, I use this label maker more than I ever thought I would. I was thinking about that hypothetical funeral for Uncle George when I ran across this article. Here's a group of people spanning the political spectrum. They meet regularly at a coffee shop and discuss politics. And one of them was able to say, "I see Charlie Kirk's death affected you differently, and I'm sorry you're in pain." In today's political climate, that's pretty magical. See, now we'll have the White Sky location cards all together and easy to find when we go to that location. You didn't think I was really just talking about a hypothetical Uncle George, right? Charlie Kirk's assassination was a gigantic story. We will feel the repercussions for a long time. Political violence begets more political violence. None of that is good. I didn't want to come at you with a hot take. I wanted to reflect a little more. Politics didn't really click for me until I understood that political discussions aren't policy discussions. We choose a political party to support, yes, but we are also choosing a community to belong to. And when bad things happen, we never want the perpetrator to be one of us. Even before we knew anything about the shooter, the administration and the right were trying to say that Tyler Robinson was a radical leftist. The truth? People are complicated and multidimensional. Robinson has some leftist beliefs. He also used some memes used by right-wing racist online communities. Will we ever know exactly what was going through his head at that moment? I don't know. If anybody else claims they do, I would seriously doubt them. As with any political figure, Charlie Kirk's death has led to discussions about his legacy. And here's where the discussions get even more fraught. Tyler Robinson's actions aren't defendable. And Charlie Kirk's rhetoric hurt a lot of people. We can't lionize Charlie Kirk just because we condemn Tyler Robinson's actions. We can hold two conflicting truths in our head at the same time. We need to acknowledge the facts. And I know this isn't easy for any of us. Kirk called the Civil Rights Act of 1964 a mistake. Kirk described MLK Jr. as awful. I don't know if the white evangelicals equating Kirk's killing to the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. are aware of this, or if they just appreciate the irony. Charlie Kirk was critical of women's rights, transgender rights, and LGBTQ rights. He repeated racist talking points like the Great Replacement theory. He rejected the separation of church and state. He claimed to support free speech, but became famous for making a database to dox professors he disagreed with. Okay, seriously, where is this card? Finding empathy is a practice. It's not easy. I look to the quiet examples of people doing the right thing, like the unsung heroes of civil discourse in that coffee shop. Because we also have people loudly doing the wrong thing. Small groups of right-wing activists spent the weeks after Kirk's assassination doxing people who didn't deserve it. It's okay not to celebrate the legacy of a public figure. That's different than encouraging violence. It's okay to remember what Kirk actually said and did. That's different than justifying an assassination. Hey, look at that! We actually found the card. Feels luxurious and a little silly to play games while the world is burning. I have to remind myself that giving ourselves mental breaks is important for refilling our cups. Then we're ready to do what we need to do the next day. Part of that work is writing new stories for ourselves. I always leave you with a thing you can do to help. My suggestion for this episode is to think of an Uncle George in your life. Maybe a family member, maybe a public figure. Really acknowledge everything that person means to the people around them. The good things and the bad things. And then decide what parts of that legacy you want to carry forward and what parts of that legacy you want to respectfully leave behind. The stories we tell ourselves matter. They shape the worlds we create. Until next time, take care of each other.